Alrighty, and we're on. So I'm here with Renato Subotic.
Yeah.
Is that how I pronounce it?
Subotic, yeah.
Subotic. Okay, yeah. I've got to use my box head pronunciation, right? So Renato is the head coach of MMA Family Fight Team.
Exactly.
And so one of my friends, Cass, she's been on this podcast as well. We, are training partners, and she mentioned she was doing a bit of MMA, and I said, oh, fantastic. And then she was like, oh, come down. So then, last Sunday got to come down and mix it up with the boys and girls, I guess. And you were kind enough to agree to come on the podcast and share some of your stories.
Appreciate.
Yep. So I guess let's start from the very beginning, right? So Renato, you're originally from Slovenia, right?
Yeah. So I'm born in Slovenia, but I can say like I feel like I moved in Italy when I was 2 years old. So I spent almost all my time in Italy.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm born in Slovenia, but I feel like more like connected to my Italian sides and my family sides, so Serbian sides as well. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And so so being that young when you went to Italy, you probably wouldn't have any memories of Slovenia, right?
Not many. I think most of the memory is like from pictures or things like that, or what my parents told me, but not a lot. But let's say my early age, like we was going back often because actually where I'm from in Slovenia is like half an hour from Italy, where I originally moved and everything. So yeah, it's pretty close. Like it's actually culturally on the border. We all speak like both languages. So like it's something I'm happy my parents always push me like to learn like the language, etc. So now this day I still know how to speak. Yeah.
Yep. Was there a particular reason why they ended up crossing the border to go into Italy?
Yeah. So my family it's coming like from really really humble region. Like they're originally from Serbia, but originally they are born in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but Bosnia is divided by 3 republics. It's so complicated, and still this day it's like some problems, issues, etc. And my parents, they're from the Serbian side. So yeah, I can say like was 1991, I think was the end of the Balkan War, was some problem. Was Yugoslavia split, was a lot of drama going on, and as I say, like when Yugoslavia was still fresh, a lot of the youngest generation have moved in Slovenia because Slovenia was having kind of more industry, more like work opportunity, etc. So my parents, they moved for that reason. And for the same reason, they immigrate in Monfalcone in Italy, and was mainly to try to give me and my brother a better life, and was like pretty tough. I remember like the first memories when I had when I was growing up. I feel like was a lot of racism going around, and as a kid I was feeling really uncomfortable, because was discrimination and things like that, and I just felt I went to the stage like when I was a kid where I was a really hungry kid, like I was active but hungry as a kid, and my father was well-known karate fighter. He was fighting in traditional Shotokan karate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so since early age he was training me and my brother.
Yep.
And this is how we get the passion like for martial arts. But like I felt like I couldn't. I was, even when I was in my earliest age, I was feeling like my mind and the way I was thinking was not for my age. I was always thinking like almost like an adult,
more mature.
And, a lot more mature. At some point, I was feeling uncomfortable even in that reason, because I wasn't really fitting in some situation because I was like, I remember 10, 11, and I had my clear goals. Like I want to become a world champion. I want to open my own gym, and I didn't really spend much time like going around, etc. I was really extremely focused on my goals. And I remember a few episodes like my parents are like my they say who is your role model, which champion inspire you. For me it was my parents. My parents are the most honest and clean people I know. Like they're hard worker, and they always like one things at that age when you have the puberty, etc., was kind of make me angry. Was like they always told me, you're not from here. You need to do more, show more, and improve all the time. No, and I felt like sometimes, like even if I was proving and during my sports career as well, like what I was from or my surname, etc., was kind of limited me, and that was like was complicated because like some kids switch that in anger and like rebellion and things like that.
Take it down the wrong pathway.
Yeah, and I have to thank my sport because like I was extremely focused and let's say in Italy it's really some area where you grow up like it's really bad, like and my city and my place it's famous for they making the cruise boats. So it's a lot of different culture there, and it's if I can describe, it's such a great city. Like it's just work. People they is a lot of criminality. So when they finish work, they go to drink, and it's always some problem. And Italy, it's a beautiful place, but some places like I don't wish anyone to experience. And that was something like I can say, like when I was a kid, I really believe in justice. Like I was like I knew it no matter what, like it's gonna be a justice. But when you grow up, you understand like
you hate the situation sometimes because you feel like you're not in control, right?
Exactly.
So because I think especially as migrating into Italy, even though it's only 30 minutes away, right? Naturally, when people so with any country, right? Whenever somebody else comes into the country, it takes time for people to become understanding of their culture because there's differences in culture, right? And I thinking about Australia, right? So when my parents would have come in the 80s, I feel like, so my brother's 7 years older than me, and I feel like his experience at school would have been very different to my experience at school, because that 7 years, even though it seems like a short period of time, for him, he was probably the only Asian kid in his class, or one of very few. And then it was only, even in high school, I think, my brother's grade, even though he went to like a really good selective school, I think the split wasn't so much, towards academics as yet, right? Whereas when I went to high school, like I think, at Baulkham Hills there, it would have been, the large majority would have been people from an Asian background, whether it was like, Oriental or Indian, like that kind of ethnicity. And then, of course, there was still, Aussies and all that. But like, I feel like, and especially when you're young, you don't really, you may not pick up on it as much. Like it's very subtle, like I always say, like the first experience that I had with racism in Australia for me was when I was in year one and I had another kid calling me a Ching Chong Chinaman, right? But, for you, do you remember what that first experience was? Like, did you notice straight away? There was a difference?
Remember like was yesterday. I was in this like cafe with my mom, and my parents, as I told you, my parents was never at home. They work like 14, 15 hours. And I was like, I'm never going to do that. And now I'm the same. So that's, I think in the blood. And my mom will always find the time like to on Sunday to take me and my brother just for an ice cream or something, just make us feel like she was always there, and was something like now I understand and I appreciate a lot. And I remember my mom, she speak with accent, and at the time she didn't speak really well Italian, right? And so we went in this cafe, and she was in line, and was almost her moment to get an ice cream for me, etc. And but she's really clever, and she seen another mom try to get an ice cream for his son, and she will let him pass just to hear how to order, how to say it, and now was her turn not to order. And because I was already going to school, like I actually, like I don't have any accent, like I speak Italian, like it's my first language, right? And this guy, this old man in the counter, started making some comments through my mom, right? And I just remember that was like, I remember the first time I was hungry, if I have a memory, and I just started grabbing the things on the counter and throw them down, and because I think my mom, she figured out what he was saying, but for me, like was injustice, like it wasn't like why
it's very offensive.
It was offensive, no. When was like slightly tolerate, no, from the culture, etc. That type of comment and things, and that was like the first experience, and even since the end, like if I remember the first, I remember the last was just before I came to Australia, so. That's a really, really interesting story. So when maybe we go into detail after, but I opened my family fight team 10 years ago in Italy, right?
Yep.
And the reason why I opened was like I wanted to training and have the opportunity like to have partners, sparring partner and things like that, because I was traveling 1 hour and a half in Slovenia.
Yeah, wow.
In the middle of Slovenia to do jiu-jitsu. I was traveling 1 hour and a half to do wrestling, and was like extremely expensive in economical way, and it was expensive in terms of energy, because like I was training 6-7 hours a day, and I was working in IKEA, waking up at 3 a.m. I find a job, and this is what I'm saying, like a lot of like I can't stand when someone's complain, I don't have time to training, etc. When actually, if you have time, if you want to find the time, you're gonna find it. And in Australia, it's pretty stable economical situation. You can find a part-time job pretty easy, and work around. And I have to say, my students are like that. Like they really
got their priorities.
Yeah, you need to have your priority if you want to succeed, you know. So anyway, one of my students who is related to another interesting story. We went for the Italian championship, almost like was 8 years ago, something like that. And I organized a kind of all group of cars, and we drove from Friuli, so northeast Italy, and we went all down Rome, and it's like 8-9 hour drive. And we compete, and my student, they was absolutely animals, because like we will do some sort of training, like even that's interesting, no? When you study the sport, etc., you evolve the game and you understand how things going. At the time was just hard work. So my student, like in terms like of technique, maybe they are not 1% of what I can teach now, but in terms of mental strength, because I was doing this insane
hard training
for hours. I remember we'll finish at midnight. We will start at 8, finish at midnight, like 60-70 people. Like was really probably the best memory I had is this one. And so we went to the Italian championship, and my student, they completely destroyed every single one. And so we have like they start saying, the number 3 team, you have like the ranking of the team in Italy, and it's a big prestige, like being in the top 5, in the top 10, like it's like 300 teams, 300 teams like competing for the Italian title as the best team in Italy, you know. And so we was almost sure like we won, you know. So third place is not us, second place is not us, first place is not us. And I'm like turning around like, what's going on? So we started getting understand of how the rules work. So when you start competing in MMA in Italy, you start as a D class. It's like saying white belt, right? Yep. So if you started and I'm signing you in, you are signed like white belt. And so the only, let's say, people who score points is the A class, right? So the funny part, like this team won the Italian championship and was like a really good team, and they won like they was undefeated they never lost an Italian title. And we look at them like and we realize, okay, we didn't score not even number 200 because like we just competing in the D class. That's the A class, you know, the elite, the semi-pro. So I'm looking at them, my students are looking at them like, and they're all like dressed super beautiful. Like I still remember red and black Adidas and like all beautiful. Like, and I'm looking at us and like one with the pink shirt, one with the blue, one with the pants, one with the tongs. Like, oh my God, I say like, and my student look at me, this guy, and this is the guy who created the monster. He look at me and say, we're never gonna beat them. And they're like, I was like, no. Like when they tell me you can't do something, I'm just like, you just, I think because of my life experience where everything was so hard, and I just convert, no, I get the challenge from that. Anyway, we go back working and like we start every year going up on the ranking, since we ranked number 3rd, the year after number 3rd again, second, the year after second, so it was third, second. Yep. And that's the year we're gonna win. You know, that's everything is like all the stars are lined up. Yep. And I can't explain that. I make my students ready. Like I was waking up at 4 a.m., right? And my students, they will go to school and after the training, come back, training like I completely change the priority of my city. Like at some point, no one was following soccer, everyone was following MMA. You will see bicycle people with cauliflower ears, nose, boxer nose and everything. It was like all the city was supporting because in all of that I was doing this project was called Martial Arts for Integration. Was like, that's the main part why it's called Family Fight Team, etc. Because as I told you, I start like for training to have sparring partner, and I start having like 5, 10, 20, and I was having like 200, 300, 400 people in the gym at some point on my peak, affiliated, etc. Anyway, back to the story. That's the moment we're gonna win, right? But you have to think about like we are only one team, right? So strong, so good, but the first team in Italy, they're rich. They have like many affiliations. With the time we're getting a lot of support from companies as well, and with the time, like achieving result, like not big support. The main support was my pocket, but was like I have a lot of support. For example, businesses, they know one of my students is a fighter,
so they sponsor
or they organize his job in terms like so he can come to the training session, etc. I have to say thank you to a lot of people. Anyway, that's the year we're gonna win, right? We come down there and we think we won. No, we draw. So lose is okay, but when you draw after all this effort is like, I don't know. I remember I felt like it hit me a meteorite in my head. Like I was like, okay. And because they're the team Italian champion of the previous year, they keep the title. Yeah, okay. And was like, man, like I felt like, no, that's a nightmare. Yeah. I remember we rent a bus, was 55 people in the bus. So in one day, I was having 35 people fighting. Like, and not only one fight, they have like IMMAFFT fight, so it's semi-pro, proper fights, like just amateur, so shin guards and MMA gloves in the cage, everything, three rounds.
Yep.
And so in one day, I will end up coaching 35 people for multiple fights.
Yep.
So in one day, I've coached more than most people have coached in all their life, just in one day. Anyway, so we drove, and I'm we're driving back on the bus, and I'm like so depressed. Like I'm looking at my people, everyone's sleeping, someone can sleep. I say, I'm not gonna sleep minimum 2 years for that. So I went back, and like everything, the universe was saying to us, we can win, right? And there, like I say, no, I'm not gonna quit. Like I'm no way I'm gonna give up on that. So I training my people not 3 times harder than the time before was like almost impossible to get harder than that. We went back and we not only won, we completely dominate every single one. Was like, I can explain. One of us, of the family fight team fighter was going in, win, out, win, in, out. Was like almost his aura of being invincible. And we kept his aura for a long time because like most of my students almost was winning a fight before competing because how they felt like prepare mentally, technically, and the people around feel that aura of
That's
almost
right.
feel like giving superpower to someone. Anyway, so we're the best team, and I wasn't happy enough. I say we're gonna do it again because so we can prove it wasn't luck, and we won again. So for the rules, the Italian Federation, I already been like the second coach of the Italian team. I went in Vegas coaching because a lot of my students won world title, won like European championship, etc., nationals. But I have to become, because of the rules, the head coach of the Italian team, right? Because I'm the number 1 in the ranking. And that's a big prestige, right? It's like something, a lot of, like this team always won. Like it's the first time things change, right? And was November. In December, come out like a new communicate of the federation saying, I never tell anyone that, but in the Italian scene, most of people know what have happened. So they changed the rule and they say, if you want to, if you score the points, etc., to be a coach of the Italian team, you have to have more than 35 years. So they already cut me off and they keep the old coach. And I was like, there was like a big hit on there was like the worst because I invest so much in terms like of money, energy, personal time and everything. No, it was like injustice again. And look now at the end, everything went through the best, you know. I'm coaching the Australian team. I'm one of the coaches of the national team. I'm a member of the board of the Australian Federation. I have my student already. She was a silver medal at the World Championship, Olivia Ukmar, absolute animal, and was the first ever silver medal for Australia. Richie Cranney have contacted me, the president of IMA have contacted me straight away, say, you want to be one of the coaches of the national team? Yes, and just was justice, no?
Yep.
Yeah, and one thing's it's so much connected on this, like it's so much story, so much life experience, but I just felt like because of the struggle of my parents and my personal struggle, I built like that resilience of not give up. No, not give up. I never can imagine myself give up on my people, no, and not only on my people, even people who are not close to me, because I think if you want to be a coach, you need to accept the responsibility to be a coach, and a lot of coaches does this like halfway, you know. For me, no, that's my first things, like that's come first than before anything. You know, that's me. It's all my life. It's my every single drop of sweat and blood on that. So and connected to that story, know how much I learned from these kids, because like I was one of that kids, them kids. This is why I started that project, Martial Arts for Integration, because I want to give them the opportunity and I want to show them. We was like a team, like multi-ethnical, like any religion, any color, purple, everything.
Yeah.
I had everything, you know. And what's beautiful, like, was a real family. Was like something like you can't describe. I remember going out of the going in the bus as an Italian champion, and only what you get is like a small trophy.
Yep.
And you get like this diploma, no? It's like paper saying like Family Fight Team, Coach Renato Subotic, best number one place team in Italy. And that's every one of my students back in Italy know. In the bus, I'm looking at the diploma and I just give it to the younger student. And I say, I don't care, we move on to the next. And it's one thing I always have done with the results. Like, I don't like to stay too much there. Okay, you celebrate after, but the morning after, it's back to work. Like, and I think a lot of people does these mistakes. Like, it's pretty common. Like, I always leave. Like, I don't care. It's just a medal, or it's just like a trophy, or paper. You need to move to the next.
So with the martial arts integration thing, so was that the genesis of MMA Family Fight Team?
Yeah. That's the origin of everything. Like the house I've started. Like, my city is a pretty rough place, right? And I was the only kids at 12 p.m. running, and before they was thinking I'm crazy. After, when I've competed like in karate, in Muay Thai, boxing, BJJ, etc., and I start doing great in the combat sport, like and having great success. And my city was support me a lot. Like, even, how can I say, the good and the bad. Like, everyone was like kind of, oh yeah, this kid is like okay, you know, he's doing his things. And I, like, for me, the bad people wasn't bad people because I grew up with bad people. Like, for me, it's sad to say, but like, bad things was normal. Like, since things like, I always felt cool to be different. And this is like, my mom, now at 30 years old, you can say that my mom was always saying to me, like, you're going to end up bad being with people. Like, even if you're not like that, you're going to... And for my parents... well, I was a nightmare when I was like in my puberty and things like that, because my family was at home, and my friend became like my family. So, and sadly, like most of my friends have end up like in a bad situation. And actually, I was watching some inspirational videos saying like, if you are here, right, and you try to bring someone up and someone doesn't want to go up, you're not going to bring him up. But the opposite is possible. Like, if someone is down there, can bring you down straight away, you know. And and for me, it was a roller coaster in terms of emotion, because I know, going back to the start as a kid, I was really mature for my age. So I figured things out. I didn't like, just because being discriminated, someone doesn't have like the financial possibility to buy that shoes or these things. And you know, it's a lot of people, they talk about struggle, but that's something like I noticed, like, it's a moment where it's almost cool being like, I can say, the bad guy, or it's almost cool, like, oh, I come from nothing. But I'm telling you, I come from nothing, and I was like embarrassed. Like, people who come from nothing, me and my friend, we was embarrassed to say we don't have nothing. I was embarrassed. Like, I would like hide myself. Like, how many times like people could order something, and I was like, no, man, I'm not hungry.
Yeah, not gonna eat.
Because I was it was even more embarrassing. Like, this time it's almost okay. Take advantage is something everyone does. No, for me, how I grew up, like, was embarrassing. Someone gonna buy me, like, a friend of mine buy me, like, I don't know, a chocolate or an ice cream, and it was like, if you really come from struggle, you're embarrassed to say to other people you don't have nothing. Actually, you try to show more than what you have. You know.
So at school, so thinking about, you would have then attended school in Italy as well.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember much about primary school? What was that like?
Yeah. So my school was located right in front of the port, and where they're making the crossroad is a public school. When they just throw the people who can afford like a private education. So it was not a school, was a jungle. Like was actually like this is how I learned fight. For me, like was like I was training for that.
Yep.
And
so there was a lot of fighting in school
all the time, like constantly, like was almost like every day. Like after it's people build your reputation, and
then you don't get challenged as much.
You don't get challenged. Even lately in the years, when they know you're a martial artist, people like almost they like to pick there because they know you're not gonna do anything, and like you don't care to have drama, etc. If you're professional, if you are like half-level fighter, you looking for a drama. Like that's not a fighter. Like if you're a fighter and your energy is all invested in fighting, you can't have time for bullshit. Like it's no way. It's not possible. It's not possible. And for me, it was all the time fighting, and like because it's a lot of families involved and etc. I didn't have any family. I have my just older brother, and he's a kind of person like always away from trouble. I didn't, and I couldn't stand like the no justice. Like if I seen something happening, I actually, when you remind me of primary school, actually, I don't know how it's called. When you're around 10, 11.
Yep, 10 or 11. Yeah, that's still primary school. Yep.
Okay, because it's a little bit different, the system. Like
I think you might have to move to middle school and then high school, yeah?
It's something that is different. Anyway, I was like saving, like sometimes on the break on the school, I will like get the chocolate or get something, etc. And when this guy, I was like 11, 12, and I was like actually a weapon, like because my dad was crazy. Like he will go work like early, and he will wake up me and my brother, and we're gonna go run up to the hills, drill and things like that, without like the method of today. And this is why I'm half injured everywhere.
Old school Shotokan training.
Yeah. Oh my God. I wish I didn't do, but maybe that's what have make me like pretty tough, like mentally. And he was so tough. Like I think I never saw my dad like show weakness. Like for him, like I don't know, even people gluten free. Who doesn't exist, So he's just like
he's old school.
Oh my God, so tough.
Did he? Just curious on the Shotokan training, right? So did he? Did he also teach you kata forms?
Yeah.
So you were doing everything, right?
Everything. Like was really traditional. Actually, for my dad, when I moved to boxing, so I moved to boxing. I was really lucky because my area, like. The positive things in area like that, when like it's a lot of criminality, a lot of like bad things happening, usually combat sport is pretty good.
He's in the mix, yeah.
Is good. And boxing in my area is well known. Like all people from North Italy, from that area, because probably even of the mixed blood, etc. With like the ex-Yugoslavia and Austria, etc. They were really, really tough fighters. Olympics, etc. And as well, we have like Giorgio Petrosian, was the Team Satori. He was like 15 minutes from where I am. And so when I changed the sport for my dad, I think he didn't talk to me like for 1 year, like really? Something like that.
So he was dirty that you left karate.
So
I guess like that is the mentality of the older generation, right? It's like you got to be loyal to the style. Yeah. Right. So, I can understand his perspective from that, but so he froze you out for a year.
Oh my God! Like he was like not talking to me, and he was like, "Why are you doing these dirty things?" Like, this was my challenge. Like when I started with the karate, I was feeling like not complete. Like I was feeling if someone like take me down, what's gonna happen? When I went like to do my first time jiu-jitsu was like 10, 11 years ago. And like these kids, I was like super fit. Like I was like I don't know. I think I could never be in the shape I was like before. And this guy just submit me like in 30 seconds, and I was like, I remember like I couldn't sleep. I was feeling
it's
like
in your brain. Yep.
Oh my God, I was feeling like if the people where I'm from, like they know that, like oh, that's so embarrassing. So this is what's happening to me. Like I get completely obsessed of what I can't do or what they told me I can't do. So I started doing jiu-jitsu like crazy, and like my submission game, it's pretty good for MMA, and I won like my all fight by submission. So and I'm born like, as a striker, like so yeah. And that's happened with wrestling too, because I remember I went sparring with a good fighter, and like he took me down, and this was the period like when like before MMA, you know, I was just style competing against each other, and wasn't clear like what actually now everyone knows, you know, like you need to have striking, and wrestling is kind of, in my opinion, is like the skeleton of MMA. Like it's like the part you need to really work most than anything else, because
dictates where the fight goes.
Dictates almost all the fight. And with wrestling happened the same. So this guy was on top of me, and like I was like, man, like I couldn't do nothing, like and like I felt like bad. So I say, no, what is the best wrestling team? So I was traveling 1 hour and a half, training and actually obsess myself about wrestling. I was training like wrestling 2-3 times a day.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I'm completely obsessed about wrestling and MMA, etc. At the time was like, okay, I need to cut all the time I lose, so I need like to go full immersion, full on, right? Yeah. So, and it was so growing up, like, and as I told you, like, was violence was something common, right? And was like almost tolerate, because like was almost like people start to respect who is the strongest, and that was like I didn't like that, honestly.
Yeah,
I was feeling I need to be that, but I felt like I was with my brain like different. Like I felt like it's not the right way to. But I think I assume like when you grow up, you're a lot confused, no? And so you try to find who you are and everything, you know.
Well, it can, like, I think one of the good things about it is that it can be a good problem solver, right? Like at the end of the day, in certain societies, you know, when you look throughout history, right, the strongest ones are the ones that dictate, you know, where the tribe goes or what the future holds, right?
Yeah.
I guess the problem is that, you know, we don't live in those times anymore.
Yeah.
So you need to, you know, I always like to think of, and I guess good examples would be like, say, think of samurai, right?
Yeah.
So not only are they elite in terms of their physical capability, they're also scholars as well, right? So you have to study both ends of the spectrum. You need to understand how society works and be gentle and have those attributes. Yeah. And then on the other side of it, if things do go into conflict, you need to have those skills as well to be able to resolve conflict. So with the fights that, excuse me, that would happen when you guys were young, was it driven off the back of discrimination, or was it driven, like, was there specific reasons for it, or was it just? So
I think because I was really training hard, but was like was constantly fights happening. Like my friend will, I don't know, walk in the wrong street where it was really, really tough, because you have divide. Like we stay there, you're not coming there. Like it's really
street, so it's like almost like territory, right? Yeah,
it's so territory. And actually, even in that, when I started building my team 10, 11 years ago, people was look at me weird, because I was mixing all the culture together, and like some people will come, like even parents saying like, oh, don't training with him, he's from there, like oh, we are from there, and like this kid was like I like him, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's like just doesn't make sense, and for me it was like frustrating. And I have this is one of the story like have make me realize how much you sometimes don't know the truth, no, behind the scene. And this student, right? I have this student. He was a nightmare, and absolutely this guy. I'm not gonna say the name, but he burned the table at school.
Okay.
And almost like all the school went in fire. He was like 15, and so they kick him out of the school, of course, right? But because of that, he wasn't able to sign in any school. No one wanted to take him because of the record, etc.
The history.
So he started doing MMA. He started changing, right? But I make an example. This guy come from nothing, and so I will come pick him up every day, take him training with me, and he will stay all the classes until I finish.
Yep.
Because I keep him like
out of trouble that way though too.
my son, no. And the interesting part, like I'm 19, this guy is 16, so it's not big difference. But I was already thinking different. You know, I need to be that. I become that figure because they needed me to become as well. And of course, was something you have to have. Like I watched just one of the old podcasts, Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson say, for being a coach, like Joe Rogan is asking him, you have a lot of knowledge, you should coach. And Mike Tyson say, like, to be a coach, I have to be a special person. Like you need to be a father, a psychologist, dietitian, and mother, everything, you know, in one person. And it's like you need to have that natural energy to being able to do that.
Yeah.
And so these kids will always be late. Every time I come to pick him up, he's late. And I'm losing it every time. Take him back home, like talking. He's like, yes. Here and out on the other side. So he's 17. 1 year after, I actually, because my project became really, really popular, and he asked me, he didn't ask his parents, he asked me to go talk to the principal at school, because he said, okay, I was talking to him, you need to go back to school, but the school doesn't want me. And I said, like, you need to go back to school. So I took him, I went to talk to the principal, and because they know me and the project I was doing, I went to talk to them, and he accepted him back to the school, right?
Wow.
And I guarantee, of course, and everything. So long story short, and actually where I understand, like, I learned, I was 20, 19, something like that, and I learned, like, how many times you judge a person or things and you never know what's behind, no? So we need to go to the Italian Championship, and it's on Sunday, and it's Thursday, right? And I give the ultimatum to the guys. Guys, if you want to join the competition, it's closed now. You can't join anymore, right? That's the last day. If you do it now, you need to do it now. And the guy said to me, it was Wednesday, sorry. And the guy said to me, no, I'm not going to do it this year. And I said, okay, fair enough. I will anyway take him with me because I was taking him everywhere.
Yep.
No. So the day after, he called me, coach, I want to compete. I need to compete. And he said it in that way, like I really felt like he needs to fight. And he was a weapon. Like he was absolutely animal. Anyway, he said to me, like, I say, do you have the medicals? You think he have the medicals? Of course doesn't have.
Yeah.
No. So for do the medicals, you need like few days. In Italy, because all the things are so slow, you need a couple of weeks, months to organize your medicals. It's so bad. This is something I appreciate about Australia. Like, define the paper, like it's pretty, the business side of the thing is pretty quick. Anyway, I called one of my close friend, mom, working in the hospital, and I said, look, can you arrange me? Like, oh yeah, of course. And they find me a spot for the day after, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm talking to him and say, at 10 o'clock, you need to be in front of this cafe. I'm coming to pick you up and we go to do the medicals. Yeah, of course, coach, etc. I came there at 10. You think he was there?
He's late.
I wait 10, 11, 12,
What?
1,
You waited
2.
that long for him?
I went like, he messaged me at 5, not even called me because he was scared. He messaged me at 5 p.m. saying, coach, sorry, I couldn't make it. And I already seen when it was 1 hour late, what I did, I called the doctor and I said, look, he's having some trouble. Can you move into tomorrow, please? Sorry, I look bad because like you need to take the bullet. Like this is it's my responsibility. I put my name, And so we have appointment the morning after that, 8 a.m. So I'm there in front of the cafe. You think he come? He didn't show up. So I'm calling him. He didn't answer on the phone, and I'm fuming. I'm like absolutely like losing it, and I'm so angry and etc. So I call his best friend. Coach, tell me what's going on. I say where he's living. Like I'm not gonna say the name. He knows. Everyone knows. He say it's there. So I go in the place he's living, and I just stand on the buzzer like this. It was like 8 a.m., right? Some people are still sleeping. Depends what you do for a living, right? So this person come out from the 7th floor, and he starts screaming like, who is, like, swearing, etc. Who is doing? And I say, I'm looking at him. I'm so angry. Yeah. He's looking down at me and say, who is this? Say, I'm Renato. I'm the coach of the guy, He said to me, come in. Sorry, because they respect me, Yeah. So I came up, and this guy opened the door. He was drunk at 8 a.m., okay? Oh, no. He was absolutely, his mom was on the floor, like on drugs, and the house was absolutely disgusting. Yeah. Disgusting. So I look at there, and I just like, my anger just disappeared. I was like, oof. Yeah, so I say, where is the guy? No, where is? Let's say, I don't know. I want to say his name. Joe. Joe. Yeah. Where's Joe? Where is Joe? No? And he's in the room, sleeping. So I went in the room, and he was with his like 6 years old brother, cuddling in the bed, sleeping. Yeah. And like, and I think about how many times I scream at him. Yeah. And he's protecting his brother. He maybe was there, just things was going on at home, and I was like, and he because where we are from, you need to be strong. You can't, and that's the sad part, because, and for a man, like in these things, man is almost obligated to be the strong one to provide, etc. And these kids will never, like, for make an example, like here's, I'm saying, someone will say, some people are saying my mom was alcoholic. Like, people who really come from that type of situation, they don't say that. And that's the big difference. So I took him, his brother, I took him to the medicals, and look at that. When we are at the medicals, he's freaking out. So he's like looking in the door, like, and things. And I went to him and say, Joe, what's happening? And he's like, no, I don't know if I want really to compete. And I was like, I already figured out, because I was in that position. I say, the medical is already paid. He was feeling bad because he's gonna have to pay for it. He have to pay it, and he doesn't want me to pay it. And I say, the team already paid for you. It's paid. No, I paid. Yeah. And he was like, so his brother was with us all day. So after what I've seen, like, I took him like to my friend, like shop. He's selling martial arts thing, protein, all of these. So we went there. I bought him, like, he have like some bad mouth guard. I get him a mouth guard. I get some kids gloves for the brother, and we just hang out all day. We was laughing and playing, and we went to eat pizza and everything. Even he was already on weight before that of all the stress he was living, probably. And I remember the scene driving back home. I was like, was so much talk, so much going on in the car. On the way home was completely silent. Yep. Was like, and I was like, oh, how many times I went angry at this guy. Yeah. And I should knew it. Like, I'm like, I come from that circumstance, and I know how people think. But sometimes, you think it's some people who take advantage, and they just like, but man, like sometimes we really need to be more understanding on each other, and
That happens all the time. You know, when you think about everybody that you meet in martial arts, and this is the one thing that I think is really important, no matter where you train, right? That you don't know what has gone on in somebody's life. You don't know what their reasons or motivations for training are, right? So, and like, you know, using Cass as an example, like I had no idea about some of the things that she shared with me when we did the podcast together. And, you know, like just because I do a podcast, it doesn't mean that I could have had that conversation outside of the podcast. It would have been awkward, right? Like it's never easy to sort of, you know, just have those kinds of conversations. And that's why I'm really fortunate that I get to, you know, sit down and we can go through these things and establish this really like close connection. Yeah. You know, because that training, you got so many other people around it, you know, the talk almost becomes, you know, you either after class, you're either talking about technique. Yeah,
it's irrelative. The other things is...
It's shallow, very shallow, right?
Yeah.
But then, you know, but I think that's one of the things that I really like about, you know, the relationships that you can form in martial arts is because you meet people from all different backgrounds, right? And, you know, I think that, you know, when you understand that no matter what somebody presents on the outside, that at the end of the day, they're still a person, right? Yeah. You don't look at race, color, sex, anything like that. I just look at the person and I just go, you know, we want to see the beauty in the person, right? And some people, you know, like, when we see somebody turning up late and we go, oh, this guy doesn't respect me or whatever, we start thinking like that.
Oh my God.
But then when you realize what they're going through, you can see some beauty in what he's doing. Yeah. Right? Like you
and of course, like sometimes, you know, as a coach, you need to understand, like, you need to keep things in line because, like, if someone starts doing whenever he wants,
other people are going to take the same example.
Exactly. And this is one of the reasons, for example, I'm not drinking or using drugs or anything because, like, thanks to them. You know why? Because, like, I'm not saying, like, when I was, like, 18, things like that, 17, like, you might go drink, you know, you experience, like, the fun, etc. But when I start having that responsibility, I was feeling... Think about if one of my students see me do that. No, he will think he can do 10 times worse. Yeah. And for them, like I was almost a father. Like, and I wanted to be a good example. This is why I sacrificed a lot of my private life for that, because you need to understand I was on 20. Like now, nothing changed. Yeah. I'm on 24/7 call. Like my students and my team are everything. Like. That's my full-time, not full-time job, life job. And if they call me at 3 a.m. and I don't answer, I'm not doing good my job. Like, and of course, if they call me for stupid reason,
you're gonna be upset.
Have happened a lot of time. I make them pay the day after, but if I can. But yeah, it's so much, you know, to know. And I think I think my Italian side is like where I learned to be smart, and I need to be like more political on the things. Like maybe political is not the right word, but I learned like to like this smartness. No,
you got to respect the rules.
Life smart.
Yeah, there's rules, and it doesn't matter what game, whether it's, you know, like, so even in with criminals, right? There's rules. Yeah, right. Sadly. So you know, even if you think that, oh, you know, bad people are going to do really bad things, they still abide by. There's a certain set of rules that they abide by. Yeah. Right. It's the same thing, you know, in business. There's rules, right? Whether it's the laws that we have to follow, driving, there's rules.
And right? I think the other sides of my blood, heritage, etc., being Serbian, is like where is like my warrior side.
That's where
like,
the anger comes out.
Yeah. Oh my God. You don't want that. Like, and this is like I really hate lose control, because it's such a lose control is like express weakness, and this Serbian, like they are known, like I think Serbian culture have lived so much like how can say nationalism, racism, and things like that because of the war and things was going on. But they are some of the toughest people I know. Like and for example, where is my family from? Like because you need to understand, growing up I was so confused. Yeah. Like I didn't know what I am. Yep. What I should be.
Yeah. How do you fit in?
Where I fit like was so hard. Like it was something I was feeling really uncomfortable. But growing up and and history and things like that, and I start learning things, and you have access on the things with internet, etc. And like my grandma, my granddads, they own like a really a big portion of land in the Republic of Serbia and Bosnia. And this land is known like back in the day, 1,000 years ago, was like the border where like we was defending like the Ottoman Empire invading, and like was warriors from generation and generation and generation, and even like look the World War One. I'm passionate about history, etc. I really love history, and like I think Serbia are the country who was most in war than anyone else, like with almost everyone. So, and I think that's kind of the warrior sides. But I feel like I can explain, like when I went to in Belgrade, and I went like around in Serbia, and our people are really they're tough people, but simple and extremely respectful. No, it's almost impossible to get like. But if they accept conflict, it's conflict. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Until the end, until someone's gone. And I think that was like it's interesting about genetic as well. Like I like really to, because of my sport. Like I try to understand different things, right?
Yep.
And for understand that, you can't only focus on the jab, cross, underhook, overhook, single, double. It's not only about that.
Yeah.
At some point, you need to switch on other things, psychology, genetic, because of how someone is, his attitude, how is his mind, how his, many fighters I know, they are really composed, etc., but they pretend to be like, I'm a street fighter, and you're not that. I always say to my student, like, don't do that, please. I get embarrassed like on these things, because like I treat this sport as a profession. You have to be professional. So when you start getting things personal, that's not good. Like I almost like everyone know in the Australian scene, like I probably don't know any of my students at the moment have any fight like with someone with the score negative than them. Like there was always like we was against like other fighters like with better score, better record, etc. Because I think you need to challenge yourself. Of course, it's a big topic. I don't want to be today in the podcast like too professional, speaking too much about like the professional sides, because the cool part about today, like I think I didn't know what's gonna happen. Like we just go with the flow, and these sides of me, I don't think I did few podcasts, but this is a sides of me. I actually never have the opportunity or people access on me, and I'm happy because like I maybe can be inspiring for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and that's the thing, every podcast has a slightly different, I guess, flavor, and it depends on who's hosting, right? But for me, I always like to go back to, because I think there's so many influences throughout your life.
Yeah.
Right. And so, being a migrant, going into Italy, when, you've got this Serbian background, and being the outsider, that is going to influence your mentality on things.
And being the outsider when you go there as well.
Yeah.
Because they say, no, you're Italian.
You're Italian now. So you can't win. Same. Like, I'm an Asian guy growing up in Australia when I was here, even when I was born here. Like, but you're, what are you? You're Chinese? Like when people go, so where are you from? And I'd be like, I'm from Sydney. Yeah. And then they'd be like, no, where are you really from? Yeah, so it's like, what the fuck kind of question is that, right? Like, where am I really from? I'm from Sydney. Like I was born here. But at the same time, like they're all influences into your life, right? And so, I'm just thinking, recapping and reflecting on some of the things you mentioned, having your dad as being this really strong influence, your parents working really long hours. My parents were the same. They worked really hard because they thought building a life in a new country, just like probably your parents thought, we need money, right? And so the most important thing to them was to obviously invest their time into working and building up a life. You know, that we could have some money to spend. And so my mum's thing, you know, like how your mum's thing was the ice cream. My mum's thing was that she'd love to save the entire year just so that we can go on a small holiday at the end of the year.
It's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was my mum's thing. And look, I've got, you know, plenty of happy memories from those sorts of things. And, you know, got to see some really lovely places, you know, because my mum did, you know, squirrel away that money so that we could do those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
But then, you know, you've got all these other influences of, you know, you have this, you experience jiu-jitsu by getting submitted and it's like, shit, I need to learn that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You get somebody take top position on you and you go, shit, I need to learn that.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the things I'm curious about, you know, when you went to high school, right? Because you mentioned you already started coaching at 19.
Yeah.
So throughout high school, were you already, and no doubts you were training, because for me, I was the same, right? So my story is a little bit different. My parents made me start karate at the age of 5 because I was a bit of I would say I was a sook, right? When I say I was a sook, it was a bit of a game. Like, so you know, I would cry about everything, right? And it was just more of a way to get my way.
Yeah.
Right. So my parents, you know, put me into karate with my brother. So my brother was 7 years older than me, but you know, I started when I was 5, and then probably did karate till I was at least maybe 11 or 12, and then had a couple of years off, and then went into kung fu, and then, you know, trained kung fu for the majority of my life, and then, you know, in the later years, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, blah blah blah, the rest of it. But you know, my parents put me into karate as a means to, you know, try and toughen me up, so to speak, and I think, you know, it definitely worked, right? Like, martial arts is going to help you to gain discipline.
Yeah.
It's going to help you to gain, you know, understanding of respect and trying to learn from other influences, right? So, you know, when you entered those high school years, you know, you obviously had you already started training all those other disciplines?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was like I finished school at 19 actually.
Okay.
So yeah, we finished 18, 19 years old, and I didn't went to university, etc.
Yep.
Because my goal was like, okay, I want to fight, compete. This is like my first my first year as a coach. For me was that's interesting because like my goal was training, right, and compete.
Yep.
But what happened when you start looking after other people? You start like maybe putting yourself on the sides, right? Yep. And with me, like the people who are training with me, they start getting good and they want to compete. And I'm like, but we need to prepare you or I need to prepare me. And I always have prepared them.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, I managed to get my fights as an amateur and pro, etc.
Yep.
And went pretty good for what I did, etc. I'm happy because like I think since maybe 3-4 years ago, I was having like still a fire to fight, and came back a little bit when I came back to Sydney as well. I think 5 years ago I decided, okay, now it's just coaching, not more halfway. Even because like I was the result was talking, you know. I was having like a lot of UFC fighter coming to training with me, and I was like, I went in Japan with one of my students. We won the shoot boxing world title. We won the IMMAFFT world title. Like I was every week somewhere different in the world, and like I was having some of my students competing, you know. And I started to understand, okay, everyone have his path. Like, in your life something become your path, and I started to really understand like the energy I was getting, I was using for training myself to compete, not to training to be fit. To compete was a precious energy I couldn't invest in my student because now I don't know.
You're thinking of yourself.
Yeah, I don't know other coaches, but when one of my students lose, and MMA, why people love MMA is unpredictable. You never know. You can be extremely favorite. Look, Nunes, the last fight. You can be like the most favorite, and anything can happen. Like, and things can change quick.
Yep.
So I remember one of my student. He lost a fight. If he fights like 100 times against this guy, he will win 100, but was 101.
Yep.
And
he got the one.
and he got the one, you know? And I felt like so bad. I like every time someone of them lose, like it's part of the game, but I start feeling bad. But I think I learned to manage that and to convert like in this fire to try to get better and better. But because a lot of people, they don't accept the defeat and they feel like it's not the way because it's easy to sit on the defeat and just like complain and not move on and just okay, I'm not gonna fight anymore.
We make excuses.
The easiest way. But I hate the easiest way. So I like to pick the other one. And it's like I think we need to, you might start like me as a goal. Like, I want to be a world champion, a fighter, and I went in America, Brazil. I went training with some of the best team in the world back in the day, and I've training with UFC champion, one championship champion, and people of all the best caliber in the world, and you maybe score some points, etc. And you say, oh, maybe I can do that, but for me, at some point, I just accept like I find a happiness in seeing my people succeed because I was able to give them the opportunity. Yeah, and it's a success for me too. Like really, I think I understand everything, any type of circumstance, because I've seen a lot of things. But I think what, as you say, even even the bad guy needs the rule. Even the chaos need rules, right? To exist. And I think me being extremely professional and like me treating the sport like as a professor, like I'm studying everything. Like I don't let any aspect escape from me. Like not only, I'm telling you, most of my Sunday, I remember even during the lockdown, maybe wasn't a lot of fights going on. I will find myself with some illegal streaming in Russia, watching people fighting, and like I will like stay there, study, and just a lot of people say that to give that for granted, but for me it was like I love that. Like I'm just like I will like I don't care about I don't know. Yesterday was party. Like I don't care at all. Like I'm just I love this too much. Sometimes I need to switch my brain, and I can't. I still need to learn because like I'm just like MMA.
You know, I'll tell you a funny story. So I also do some film studies on fights, and the reason why I started it wasn't to be like those other YouTube guys that have built a channel based on it. It was just when I would see things that I really liked, then I wanted to actually spend the time to go back and look at it, right? So with my kids, so when they were babies, and obviously I still got one baby now, but sometimes what I'd be doing when I'm putting them to sleep is I'm watching the fights on my phone, right? And so like there was quite a few times where I'm watching a fight, and then like I see something, and when I see it, it's like a specific scenario keeps happening in the fight. And they're the things that I like to study. Like I don't when there's a fight and like let's say we have the unexpected outcome, right? And maybe it's a good one hit knockdown or something like that, or something like like along those lines. I don't find that as intriguing as when you see certain scenarios just play out on repeat. Yeah. But then you see so there might be 3 different outcomes that come out of that one scenario. Yeah. And so they're the ones that I like to then go on. I'll go and then clip it up. And then, study it, look at those 3 different outcomes, and then try and make sense of it after the fact. So that's how I like to do it. But I used to, have the baby in my arms, putting my baby to sleep. Look at the video. Have the AirPods in so that I can still listen to the sound. And I'd be there trying to watch and like turn the screen away so that the light doesn't hit them. And there'd be sometimes like my screen's so dark that it's like, I have to try and rewatch it. But that's So I guess when I look at film, and I'm curious about how you look at it as well. But when I look at film, that's how I like to do it. I like to look at, if there's I like competitive fights, because in those competitive fights, and an example would be, so I did a film study on a couple of UFC guys, Bobby Green and Rafael Fiziev, and I thought that was a really, really good fight because they had such opposing styles and very different approaches to it. Like I think, definitely, you could have called that fight either way in a 3-round fight. I'd love to see that fight go 5 rounds, right? Because I think, in the opposing styles, there might be a different outcome, but that was a fight to me where if they fought, 10 times, it would probably be 5 out of 10 each way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to look for. I like to look for those things. Like when you look at film, what sort of catches your eye?
So I really try to understand so for example, I've seen a lot of like the standard way people preparing the fight is, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna okay, he's that's I think we're gonna finish the memory of your phone,
that's fine,
of your camera.
No, we got time.
Look, for example, I like to see the reaction of the things. I want to see, for example, one thing I really find interesting, for example, why you seen a lot of wrestler winning for knockout, not winning for takedown, etc. Because you can bring the best striker in the world and you put him against an MMA fighter, doesn't stand a chance. That's the reality. Against an average MMA, high, medium level MMA fighter. Why? Because when you start putting the threat of the takedown and that type of things, all the striking game change completely.
Yep.
And I feel one thing's in the MMA, it's still, I don't agree, is dividing the discipline. You, of course, you're working on the discipline, but if you're an MMA fighter, you're working with the priority of putting all together.
Yep.
So your main workout is if you do jiu-jitsu, right, and you're training jiu-jitsu every day. If you do MMA, you need to do MMA almost every day. In my opinion, every day will be better. Because I make an example. Look, my student, Buds, he debuted on UFN, Urban Fight Night, with 10-day notice against, he's just 18 years old. He fought a guy 33 years old.
Yeah.
He won knockout of the night.
Yep. That was the head kick, right?
Yeah.
Jab cross head kick, I think.
Exactly.
Yep.
This
Against
was
the cage. Yep.
Yeah. And the funny part, if someone go back on my profile, you can see, I predicted, I say the day before, knockout, head kick, and I'm on the cage holding the pads, and he does exactly the same drain happen in the fight. So it's something important to understand. A lot of fighters are focusing on, what he gonna do. Of course, we have the footage, we have we need to implement, but you can't. For example, I make an example. You are a striker. I'm a grappler, right? And you base all your camp on try to for 2 months of the camp you focus on, okay, I'm gonna defend the takedown, defend it. You're never gonna close in 2 months a gap of someone who is a high level jiu-jitsu fighter for 10 years.
Yep.
You can't do that. So it's just waste of time. So if you're ready, if this fight is happening, I'm making an example of the UFC, and this fight is happening, the reality is you already start with a big disadvantage. Everyone say MMA, anything can happen, of course, but I really always work on percentage, right? You're going to have 20% of opportunity to finish him or knock him out. If you focus the time and try to defend, sprawl, and whenever, I'm talking about someone with average level against elite level, right? You can't fix that in 2 months.
Yep.
It's just waste of time. So I like to see the reaction. I like to see as well, I really observe in the corner, when they're in the corner, the information, how they capture information, and as well, it's as a coach, you need to understand some students, they need a technical information, right? Some students, they need, okay, you're losing this round, okay? You need to go in and this is exactly what I need to you to execute. Right? Some students, they need an emotional advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They need like
fire.
I make an example. My student Buds in the corner, and he was really like he's training 1 year. He never did nothing before.
Wow.
Everyone who saw him, he thinks like he's training like 5 years. He does MMA with me 1 year, and that's it. Nothing else.
Yep.
MMA striking, MMA wrestling, MMA grappling. He completely like I think and the beautiful part of the things. Both of my students won. Jack first round and Bud's third round KO, but they didn't take any damage. And for me, that's a big win as a coach.
Yeah.
Because, as he's saying, if you're a good boxer,
you don't get hit.
Exactly. And like, let's say in the long term in MMA is like a big part too. Like, so yeah, I like to observe and see that things in the fight. I love to see like how the reaction of the athlete on the information they are giving. You need to. This is why it's really important the psychology and start knowing people. Like get that connection with your student.
Yeah.
This is why it's really hard for me. I have a big amount of fighters coming from other gyms to training with me.
Yeah.
Because they maybe think in 1-2 sessions they can get what is like the core of the my style, but you need like years on that process. Like if you're someone like Buds is training 6-7 times a week.
Yep.
And of course, like I always say to them, 1 year with me is like 5 years in another place, because like
training every day.
If you're training every day 2-3 times a day, like if someone is training for maybe when he starts, he's training 3 times a week. You're training 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So, of course, smart training, you know, and like having technical strength conditioning and all of this. You know, we have such a great team. It's not only me. We have like a wrestling coach, Sam. He's an absolutely animal. We have Keller for grappling, and we have. Marcel for the mental coach part. Okay. We have Coach Yui for the strength conditioning. So, and everything is really solid. And we communicate because they do in MMA. So I need to know what's going on. Like I can't all the other area, they need to move what sport we do. If my students go compete in jiu-jitsu, I'm not going to give him an MMA advice, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you're going to try to follow one line. What is most confusing is when people have 30 coaches in MMA, right?
Yeah.
I'm training there. That's just going to confuse you. And once you're going and you try to get this style, you're going there, you get the other style. But another really important things in MMA is share, get experience outside, etc. But you need to have your base, you got
to be able to put it together. I think if without that foundation, doesn't matter that you can go and grab all these different building materials, but it's never going to work.
It's in life too, you know. You can, if you don't know where you are, you can't become.
How are you going to focus? Yeah.
And that's I think an important approach for an athlete. Have the mind clear. You know, I know sometimes things looks cool, but cool doesn't mean work.
Yeah.
So you need to see what's actually working. You know, I mean, I'm in January. I'm 3 years in Australia.
Yeah.
In January, that's nothing. I feel like I'm 30 years here. How much I invest every single drop of energy on that, and that's just the start. I already know where we're gonna be, and I already know. I have some kids, 12, 11 years old, absolutely killers.
Yeah.
They can compete now against seniors. And they just this new generation, and Buds is part of the new generation.
Yeah. Where they're doing everything together.
Oh my God, it's just that step. What's for us maybe it took longer, right? And as well, now with the Federation, Australia Federation, I'm the director of the Youth Development Program.
Yep.
So I'm the director for that, and Richie is doing an incredible job. Richie Crane, the president of IMAF, to really try to get this professional standard in the MMA community, because still it's so much like it's, you know, they still like, oh, you're an MMA fighter, like looks like almost like, no, it's a profession. It's you need to be professional what you're doing. You can't drinking, fighting. That's like just someone tell me, oh, this guy it's doing this and he's still winning. But what he could do if he wasn't doing that.
That's right.
Oh, but I feel relaxed. No, it's not. Be professional.
Yeah.
Be professional, and that's it's gonna reward you for sure.
Yeah. So what made you okay? Obviously, what happened with in the Italian side with the when they changed the head coaching rules. So was that the catalyst for you to then say, okay, I'm gonna leave?
One of the reason like I decided to move in Australia, like probably just back home, close people know that, but in my project, Martial Arts for Integration, I was having one of my students who actually he was older than me in 1 year, and we was neighbors, so we came from almost the same type of
upbringing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he grew up without father, and he was like causing so much trouble and things like that. But we find each other in the latest age. Like we was together at the start, and of course, you know, when you try to get one way, you lose
contact with the other ones. Yeah.
All the people who you can't bring with you, you know, because like
you're on a different path. Yeah.
Different paths is like the life, no? But he came back to my path, like, and he started training, he started fighting, and actually he was really talented. Not yet to move like professional, etc., but he was doing some competition, winning, losing, and like amateur, right? And he was really having like a tough moment, and I remember like I was having 5 of my students fighting in Milan, right? And we went on the night, and we are traveling during the night, so it's like 4 or 5 a.m. in Italy. And when we are halfway, so from where I'm from, Milan is like 4 hours, right? So we are 2 hours away from Milan. And I get this call like at 4:30, 5 a.m. and was him, right? And coach, how are you? I say good. And I say, I want to ask you, can you come back, please? I need you. Like I say, Matt was the guy, and I say, look, Matt, like I have my students competing, the boys are competing, and we are halfway. What's going on? And he was like really, really beautiful, like smiley, positive guy. Look, even in that type of environment, etc. And I was like, I will come back tomorrow after the fight. We can have a coffee. We can chat. At the time, he had really bad hand injury. He couldn't training for 6-7 months. Like, well, he was so naughty as well. He will take the things away. So the you know when you break your hands, I was called
cast.
Yeah. And he have some surgery. He end up in a fight and he injured his hand again. Like he was like big troublemaker. Anyway, I'm in the car talking to him, and he at some point said, "Just coach, don't worry. I see you. I just want to let you know you are you've done a lot for me, and etc." We closed the phone, and I was feeling weird. I was feeling like I turn around to my people, and I know they're all in the car cutting weight and struggling, and like almost half that already. And like I'm there, like I felt like to say something, and I'm like feeling to go back, but I have responsibility.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember like I'm there, like stop myself and like look at like pretty long time. And they call me. Couple of hours later, he took his life.
Ugh, shit. How did he do it?
He hanged himself.
Yeah.
And I was the last person he called. Yeah.
Yeah. See that?
And that was like for me was like a start of a nightmare. Like there was like I start losing my perception of the things. Like I was like start feeling guilty to not like I was meant to be like protect them, you know. This is why I put on the logo, protect the family, protect like this was my role. Like this was like I started that for that project to help people like us, you know, like. And I couldn't, you know. I felt like was hard time. Was like probably the darkest time in my life, and I couldn't really find myself. I was like doing things,
but it's, you're not there.
Just like a zombie. Like I was like start having bad thinkings. I was not really present as a father at the time, because like I need to continue to go in the gym, but I don't feel it. I feel like I didn't respect what I should do, you know. Like, and he was like really like my brother for me. Like, and he will treat me. He was treating me like his father. Like that was type of relationship. Like was if I tell him like why do that, like he will like really have this type of respect. And that was like man, that was like the worst period, like let's say.
That's actually, you know, I had a part of the reason why I started this podcast was in 2019 one of my high school mates committed suicide. And so, you know, I've talked about this many times, but obviously you've never heard the story, so I'll share it with you. So it was my family, and we went to my friend Ivan's place. So Ivan is another one of my high school mates, and we're having dinner. And that night, so, you know, it was on Easter Monday. And so me and Ivan, we already organised, we're going to, you know, we'll get together, we'll have dinner. And then I think, you know, maybe a couple of days before, Age called Ivan, and I was like, we're having dinner on Monday, come catch up. And so then Age came to dinner, and, you know, we caught up, you know, had dinner together. It was nice. You know, we just chatted and just felt like old times. You know, every time I feel like, you know, when you have that connection with these people, like, you know, with my high school friends, you know, I can not see them for years, but then, you know, the moment we're together, it's like you feel like it's back to old times, right? And it'll be the same for you when you see your childhood friends and things like that, right? And so, you know, that night, like nothing really seemed astray for us. Like, you know, we talked about it after, because, you know, we were talking to Age about, you know, has he, you know, got any ideas in terms of what he's going to do travel wise, and he was studying and doing all these different things. And then 5 days later, he took his life. And, you know, so he jumped in front of a train. And so that was the end of his life. But, you know, Ivan and I, you know, we obviously were talking about it after, and we're like, did we miss something? You know, you go through this process of, you know, like he didn't normally come out all the time anyway. Like sometimes he'd be like, he's busy or whatever. And then but that particular time he came out, you know, was that his way of saying goodbye? You wonder all these different things, like, you know, was it something we said? Was this something we could have said? You know, how could we have prevented it? Or did we miss something? And why, you know, like you just question all these different things. Yeah. Right. And I know for me, you know, like the day that I found out, you know, it was a Saturday morning. I think it was I can't even remember now. I think it was a Saturday morning, because it could have been a Sunday, because I was driving somewhere. Yeah, it would have been a Sunday. I was driving somewhere, and I can't even remember where I was going. Like everything it's just a blur after I had the phone call.
And I feel as well like a lot of people say you couldn't do anything, but I don't agree on that, because like, many time, like for all my students, like they will call me, like I have like one of them call me, I have a million of story, like one of them call me, not him, police call me at 3 a.m. Oh, Renato, we have one of your students, he have make trouble, can you come here? He was a really good fighter, and no one could stop him, right? And can you come here, calm him down, etc., and talk, and like still in Italy it's a little bit like that, like here they just like put you in and that's it, but in Italy still is kind of
relationship
a little bit. And I feel you always can do something. I'm telling you, like I felt like my energy wanted me to go back and just turn the car, drive back. Maybe we'll be in time, maybe we'll be late, but I was having responsibility of these people, and I couldn't imagine, like he will always laugh, like he will always like and like I was a things like I always have like a weird feeling about that. And I think talk about suicide and things like that, it's good for to make people understand, like it's an opportunity, is a possibility to go away from these thoughts, through the sport, through the community, through the family, and everything, like, and maybe some of the guy gonna listen this podcast, etc. But like it's I went in really dark places, and I have to thank some beautiful people I met in my life, even when I couldn't imagine. Even here in Australia, I met some people who make my life extraordinary, and sometimes we don't even know, but small things can impact
make all the world difference.
And that was the reason mainly for me I need something different. I needed, because was too much memory involved, too much things, and I felt that like I go, or like I don't know what's gonna happen. I felt at some point was I was a father. I was a father, and I had a big responsibility. I was having a life there, like who needs me, who need his dad to be there and look after, and I couldn't. Like I was just everything
shell.
was
You're a shell. You're just walking, doing the motions, but not really present.
And I start to realize where he was, because I start smiling to people. I start like look like fine, and everyone like thinks you're fine, but you're not fine. And this is something I have took me since this day to understand, to put myself a little bit more in peace. But still I never could be completely in peace, I think, ever.
Well, this is why. So this is one of the things that I really spent a lot of time thinking about after my friend aged, passed away, was, when are you really gone, right? And then there's a beautiful Pixar movie called Coco. I don't know if you've seen it. You might have seen it with your daughter, but Coco's the Day of the Dead, right?
Course,
And he's talking about, the whole premise of the movie is that they want to remember their ancestors, right? And so I really thought about that, and it's part of it sort of, rang home for me in thinking that, well, if I keep talking about him and I remember his memory, you know, he's never really gone.
Yeah.
Right. Like even to this day, I still feel like I could just pick up the phone and call him, and it'd just be like old times.
Yeah.
Right. And we reminisce about all these things that we used to do when we were younger.
Well, because I need to close this with the. So I have to tell this story because like he was like make me so embarrassed about that. So my student, right, they was all like coming from like I told you, like tough. So there was kids who you need to be careful what you say because they take at everything, you know.
Yeah.
So I always tried to look really. I was really mature for my age, and I never talk about my past, right? I always like try to look almost. You need to look almost invincible, right? Yep. So one of the we know each other, but we wasn't close. When we become close was. We was in this place, like I was like 16, 17, and it's like a club next to the beach.
Yep.
But you have like the main club where you have to be 18 to go in, and you have these clubs on the beach. You just everyone hang out, and it was a nightmare because every 5-10 meter someone was fighting or you know drama happening, etc. So. And this place is out from our area, right? But in our area, we was like so in conflict with each other. But when we go out, we are all together. Yeah. Like it was so weird. Yeah. It doesn't make sense at all. Anyway, I'm walking to. We have like this night bus take you home, and I'm walking by myself to go home, right? And it's this massive fight happening, and it's this guy against like 3-4 other guys, something like that. And I'm looking, and it's Matt, my student. No, not yet. At the moment, it was just
friend,
a guy I know, you know, from the area. And so I jump in, and we start fighting all, and one of the guy lost the shoes, so Matt stole his shoes, and at the end of the day, we end up like good. And so he will go like every time, like because he will see me like really like as a father. So I try to look so professional, so strict, no. Yeah. And he'll say, "Yeah, you know, Renato." Like he'll say to this. So now we are like 25, 24, something like that. And these kids like are 16, 17, they feel like can do anything, etc. Oh, you know, Renato, you know how I met him? So I was in the fight, he jumped in, he bashed 2 of them. And I met like, don't say
these stories.
And like, don't say it. He was like so proud. I was like, and all these guys like, yeah, no, don't fire them up. It's gonna be, I have to go in the police station every week if you fire them up. And he was like, just like,
did Matt wear the shoes?
I don't know. He stole them. The guy was looking for the shoes probably, and like was so funny. It was such a character. Eh? And this is like I like to remind myself. It's painful, and it's like sometimes it's sad and depends even the mood you are, you know, memory change in terms like of how you feel and what is around you, etc. This is why I really try to stay away from negative situation. I just don't let them touch me at all.
Yep.
And I try to convert the negative situation we need to face daily, you know.
Of course.
Because sometimes you can't change things, but you can try to look in a different perspective. And you know, fighting is really important. For fighting is it's a big addiction, right? And it's like a lot of kids with like kind of personality with a lot of energy, they need something like that. They need something to get addicted. Yeah. Or they end up like other type of things. You know?
That's right. You get negative influence. I think, you know, I always say to my wife, because, you know, I train a lot as well, and then she's better about it nowadays, but you know, she always used to be, oh, what, like, you know, why do you need to train so much? I was like, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah,
right? And if I don't apply my energy, I'd prefer to put my energy into these addictions, which is better for me and healthier.
Yeah.
Or would you prefer I go out and be one of those guys that wants to go and party every week?
Yeah,
you know,
that's really, really important aspect, because, and one thing I want to say, you know, with the time I was a stronger believer, like if you come from struggle, you know, you can as I told you, I'm study a lot, not only relating to the fights, I'm study other things. And I really remember growing up, they say, oh, you know, if you come from struggle, you have something more. Like, it's not true. Let's be honest. Like sometimes when some sort of things happen in your life, it's like if you are in that critical age and you're a kid, etc., it's like having this crystal ball inside you and get cracked, you know, and it's never the same.
Yep.
This is why sometimes when you don't know some things, it's a blessing. And I'm make an example. I was not talented, right? But I was really working hard. But was kids less talented than me, but maybe they could have made fathers. I'm talking about when I start karate, etc. Because in the summer I need to work in construction, I need to do this and that, so I can pay my training. Or my parents, my dad was a fighter, and they're both butchers, and he never will for him the sport was like a lifestyle, but was still a waste of money.
Yeah,
like because was a critical situation. Like it wasn't like a stable situation where you say, okay, I want to go compete in Slovakia. Yeah, say go work and figure it out, you know. So I think struggle can depend. It's one thing I was reading a long time ago. I have stayed in my mind. Say bad things to some people, they make them stronger, but some people, they just break you, you know, in pieces. And so I remember like this guy was less talented than me, but he will go to a good physio on the summer. The family gonna pay some trainer to come and work with him some specific things, and boom, at some point he was just another level. That's the reality. Like they say, Mike Tyson himself, like as well, like he came from struggle, etc. He was a kid, but he went living with Customato, and he had like actually a perfect lifestyle to become a champion. Of course, he was having like genetic attribute, etc. But I think it's not something helps you to succeed. But one thing I can tell you for sure, because from the day one I've invested in the people who are destined to lose. Like I was destined to lose in everything. But I feel like you can convert that.
I think anything can be a source of strength. You know, you can have like so some people have the worst parents in the world and they become worse people. Other people have the worst parents and they become better people. Right? Some people have good parents and become bad kids. Right? And some other people have good parents and become good kids. There's no fixed formula for it. Right? I think it's all in how you take in those influences. But I think for me, the commonality that I find in it is how accountable are you, or to your own actions. Right? So generally the ones that, you know, if you've got bad parents and you blame your parents for a lot of those things, your life doesn't really get any better. But if you've got bad parents and you go, well, what can I do to make sure that I don't fall into that same trap? Your life could be infinitely better. Right? And so likewise, you know, you might have good parents, but then you blame them because you're like, oh, well, they're never around. Right? And then straight away you might go into bad things because your parents aren't around and you're trying to compensate for this lack of love, where it could be, you know, you've got good parents and they're working hard to put food on the table for you, and you take that as an inspiration and go, okay, my parents have, and this is how I think about it, you know, even though I feel like, you know, my kids, my parents work so much that, you know, when I think back on my memories with them, there's a lot of good memories in there too, but there's a lot of times where, you know, we didn't get to spend as much time together as what I give my kids now.
And I remember even like my dad, he was when you work a lot and like I'm blessed, like I'm doing the job I love. For me, it's not working. Like sometimes I feel bad, but for them, they was like having like. So I remember once I went to see my dad at work, and I see how they scream at each other. They scream at him like, and he was just coping, no, and like he's a really strong man, but he won't like because was the owner of the shop, etc. And he came home, and you feel that energy, that heavy energy, and you feel like he's ready to explode as well,
Yeah.
But what a really nice memory I had. Like I didn't really realize the impact I was having on people's life since like I remember one of my students. So he, my striking coach, he organized this show, right? And the show was divided. Like the preliminary card was like Muay Thai, and because like MMA was really exploding at the moment, the second part was MMA, and all the MMA card was my students against other gyms, right? And one of my best students was the main event against a really good fighter from South Italy. And anyway, it's 2-3 days to the competition, and my student had a really bad injury on the knee, right? And we took him to the hospital, and because he was ready and ready to go, we took him to the hospital, and he have like he torn his I don't know in English MCL, and so the fight is cancelled. And this guy just flowed from Sicily to North Italy, the other guy, and we are looking to find a replacement, right? So my coach is looking, and my coach is really well known is the coach of Giorgio Petrosian, is Alfio Romanut. He have like the best athlete in Italy in terms of like Muay Thai, etc. K1, and so he's talking to the guy, and the guy didn't believe my student have an injury, so he asked him to prove like the injury. So we send him the paper, and he messaged him and say, "Look, Renato just sent me the paper." And he starts saying to him, "Why Renato is not fighting me? I was out of shape, was like 2 weight class above what I'm fighting." And my coach said, "Renato is not fighting anymore, it's just coaching, right?" And he's like, oh, he's scared, and he started talking shit online. And I didn't even care, because at the moment, like funny things, I didn't have even like Instagram or stuff like that. I had just like my MMAFFT page, etc. Anyway, my coach called me, and he say, "Oh, look, we didn't find a replacement, etc." And he said to me, "I want to tell you, but I don't want to tell you." I say, "Coach, what do you mean?" I say, "Yeah, he spoke to me like that, and he was I put him in his place, but he say like this and this and that on you." So I accepted the fight in 2 days' notice. So the day after, I have the weight in.
Weight cut.
Yeah, I didn't have to weight cut because it was 2 weight class above me. And the day after, we are fighting. So weight went okay, and we accept like, and he did a catch weight with me, because like
he's 2 weight class above. Yeah.
I was carrying a lot of weight back in the day. Like I was fighting bantamweight.
Yeah, okay.
And now I'm around 82, 83. Back when I was in shape, like I was like 70, 69. So I was a really strong bantamweight. So we fight lightweight, right? And so in 2 days, this is where I understand like how much people believe in me. Like this show usually sells like 200 tickets. Like it's like a small show, right? Yep. It's like when they find out I was fighting, like almost all my city come to watch me. Like was like no, I'm saying my generation and people around me was like 3,000 people watching me.
Yeah.
Like, and my coach wanted me to fight again, but I won that fight. I won. Was a good win. I won for submission in 24 seconds on the first round.
Oh, what did you hit on him?
So I actually hit him with a big right hand at the start of the round, and I broke my hands one punch.
Yep.
So what I did, I land again the same right hand, and I felt okay, it's broken. And when I landed, he landed low kick at the same time, so I dropped him.
Yeah.
He was concussed, and I went ground and pound, and I went for an armbar. Yeah.
Yep.
And was that morning I woke up, and like all the pages in Italy say, oh, he's fighting back, he gonna compete again, etc. There was big expectation on me, and my coach called me. I'm with my broken hands for 24 seconds. Like I was so angry. I said, this guy have a pretty thick head, because I hit him. I still have the picture. I know how I break it because I hit him like this on the side, and I felt like pock. And like everyone is asking me when I'm fighting, and I say, I say I'm retired, but I never really say it. I was always halfway in. Yeah. When I woke up, everyone couldn't believe me. Like even my coach, I say I'm not gonna fight anymore, and he said, "You're gonna fight." Like I say, I'm not gonna fight anymore, and he looked at me. You never say to me you're not gonna fight. Say I just don't. I didn't feel it anymore. It was like just other priority. Like was so much other things.
You got going for you at that time.
For me, more important than my than my like. I don't like ego. I don't like. Sadly, the fighting game now is different. It's different. Well, MMA, I think they always have like that way. You know, this was like how MMA went popular. But I grew up like as a traditional martial artist, and have this type of imprinting was really hard me to adapt on that. Like was like painful.
Yeah.
And I just
different mindset.
Yeah.
They're trying to sell the fight. They're trying to promote things. So people like the stories. They like to feel like there's something going on.
And I just felt like really the responsibility I had was start being like my proud. I was proud to be responsible. I was was such a great period, because I remember we was going around, fight, winning, and like was just this aura. One thing I always say to my students: don't give anyone superpower, no. And this is what like a good athlete does, a champion does, like make you feel like I'm invincible. Yeah. And when you start giving superpower, you make him invincible.
Yeah, that's right.
And but if you're able to do that, and it's possible, like when you achieve like that level of a champion, like you feel when you spar with someone high level, you almost feel like he have like this aura around, and it's like interesting, no? Because we give that power to him.
That's true.
No,
true. Yeah.
And
So okay, just switching gears a bit. So, can we talk about family? Can we talk about you? Yeah. So you got a daughter?
Yeah.
Yep. So when and I know that obviously when Matt passed away, that was made change things a little bit. But what was it like for you? When you found out you're going to be a dad?
So it was like interesting. Like was like I
was it planned or unplanned?
Wasn't completely planned, but like was something I can say I couldn't ask for anything more than that. Like Freya, my daughter, is an absolutely angel. Like everyone thinks like I'm gonna want her to do MMA, etc. I just feel like I'm not pushing that bottom yet.
Yep.
But she's already ready to take few belts in UFC. No, I was harder because of the moment I was living, of the loss I had. I couldn't really. I think 1 year have passed, and like I didn't really figure out I was a dad. Like I was like there, but I wasn't. I was there just, I'm honest. Like I could say here, like no one know my things. I could say like I was an incredible dad, but I wasn't myself at the time. I was like that year went so slow, and felt like one day felt like weeks, and at some point I feel like I woke up and I start bringing the pieces together, no? And I think I have to thank my daughter, because she's really pure, no? And that purity, likes. I remember in that dark moments, she will do something and I will smile when I think she was that bomb of positivity and beautiful energy I needed, and I think she came in the moment. Now me and her are one thing. I can't be one day without seeing her. And I feel like at the beginning, I remember I was feeling guilty to spend so much time in the gym while I'm a father. But I always say I think she knows, and she will be gonna be happy to know his dad is happy. Then just be there every day. How many dads are at home all day?
Yep.
They don't work maybe, or they don't need, but they're just not really depressed, no present. I prefer every time we spend time together, it's a quality time where we just are one things, and I just can say she teach me a lot to be a father. I learned because they say, oh, you woke up and you're dead. You're not like that.
Nobody gives you the manual.
No one at all. And I think for all the transition, she now have the best of me for all these years, right? And sometimes, it's better like that.
Yep.
It's better than maybe, it's gonna be always some up and down in life. That's so. I'm I went through a lot, and I just feel like I'm ready for anything. Really, I'm well rounded in life. I feel like almost nothing can surprise me. Nothing. Yeah. I'm ready for anything. So that's what experience in life and be getting mature now with your age, etc. And learning about yourself, learning about people, studying is really important. Every free time I have, I invest study history, psychology, and try to, because from the past you can see a lot of things, and a lot of things repeat, even in society.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because it's so much more out there, right? And but I think what is a big source of happiness for people, it's passion. And be surrounded of passionate people. Yeah. Because I remember I have this teacher in high school. He was such a great character. He was a funny person. He was a really traditional Shotokan karate, and it's so bizarre. I don't know, sounds bizarre, but he was crazy obsessed and passionate about table tennis.
Okay. Yep.
So it was these completely two different wings. And the point, like, he was like such an incredible character. And I remember, like, I don't care about table tennis, right? But he was so passionate.
Yeah.
So he completely convert my school. Like,
Everyone's playing table tennis.
He finds some founding to in this like school where like the wall is falling apart, the roof is falling down. One day we came to the gym, like so cold, like really, you know, bad quality gym, falling apart. We get in, it's like 10 table tennis, like of the best brand.
Wow.
So he found like some founding of like the region to the sports activity. And I end up like, I don't know, some afternoon find myself like play tennis table with like 20 people and like almost feeling embarrassed because like we shouldn't play table tennis, but he's so passionate. Like,
got everybody into it.
Like he just like completely obsessed. Like I play like probably a few times, but I won't never like think I will do that, you know, like it wasn't like my thing. But and I learned even from him. I always like try to do that. Like no matter what's the situation, I try to capture something, to learn something. Even if it's negative, looks negative, I try to figure out what I can get from that.
Yep.
And that's how I'm living now. Like I really, for me, my priority is my family. And my family is my team and my daughter. This is why it's a family fight team. And that's my path. That's the things I choose and choose me. So it's pretty exciting in the future. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to end this. So
unless
you got anything you want to ask me, no?
Look, I really appreciate. Like I didn't expect to talk about this podcast go this way, but when you told me like, oh, let's start from the start, and I was like, man, like no one asked me that. It's actually, and I just want to thank you. I think not a lot of people have seen these sides of me. They always see me, this guy in the gym, like completely focused, but
that's what I want to share. Like at the end of the day, I think people are very complex, right? And my life was very much like that. So before, I almost had like, I would say my life was in compartments. You know, there was the me that was at work, there's the me at home, there's the me with my friends, there's the me at training, and they're all different. Like, you know, like I have almost like a different persona because you've got to carry yourself in a slightly different way. And then something happened to me, you know, over the last probably 5 years, where then I just realized I didn't want to live my life that way anymore. You know, I just wanted to have it be as open and transparent as possible. So then I started basically removing all these separations that I had and started to mix, the me that's at training and the me that's at work and the me that's at home, it's the same me, you know? And I feel like that actually made me a better person, you know, because I could combine all these things and I grew as a person. And, you know, I think that's the beauty in sharing these stories and why I like to start from the beginning is because we have so many influences throughout our life. And far too often, we never really get to say thanks to a lot of those things. Yeah. Right? And so I think, you know, in sharing those stories, it's an appreciation of all the people that have helped us along the way.
And I think one important things was for me, I didn't have at the start, even after, I didn't have great coaches, right? And I think actually I find a lot of in all this journey because MMA now it's seen as a sport, etc. But 10 years ago was like a jungle, like you couldn't really understand. And I have like the worst coaches you can have. And I think I tried to become like, I really needed almost to coach myself. And I became like what I needed as well, like someone who really look after people. And I had one of my boxing coaches, like he will just tell to me, okay, we're fighting tomorrow. Where? I'm going to go there, fight. The guy is 10 kilogram heavier than me. Let's fight. Like not really caring about. And by the way, one thing surprised me about you. I have to say that. So Cassie told me, oh yeah, my friend, the guy I did the podcast, like, I'm honest, I didn't see the podcast with her, just because one thing's I really I'm really intimate to my student, and sometimes I feel if I know too much, I'm gonna feel so. Anyway, Cassie told me, yeah, the guy who I did the podcast is coming in the gym, and at some point I'm turning during the sparring, this guy is throwing him Imanari roll on everyone. Like, so, who is this guy? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's okay. So funny story, right? So I'll tell you this because you haven't heard this story. I have told this story on the podcast before. So, as you know, I trained karate when I was a kid, and then I did kung fu for 21 years of my life, right? And the thing with kung fu was that, you know, I never really got to test myself that much.
Yeah.
Right? Because kung fu is traditional, the competitions that we did. So I competed in China for forms, demonstrations, all that sort of stuff. Won gold medals, all that sort of stuff. But never really, like, for me, I always wanted to fight. Right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, my master was against it. Right? Like, because he's traditional, right?
Yeah.
Which is odd because, you know, he actually fought when he was in Malaysia as well.
Yeah.
Right? So he did a couple of comps and won a couple of comps when he was in Malaysia. And so I sort of, you know, had the initial conversation with him and he didn't, it's all right. Yeah. And he didn't really, he wasn't really too keen on me fighting. Right. So then I ended up just signing up and doing a fight anyway. Right. So it was back in, PCYC days and they used to have like comps for pancration. So it was no strikes to the head. No strikes to the head when you, no strikes to the head, wrestling, grappling, kicks.
Actually,
no
it's a good way. In my opinion, I think like for all the youngest age.
Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Yeah. So, so pancration was what I was doing. And I tell this story because I think it really, it actually set my progress back, I would say 5 or 10 years. All right. And the reason why I say that, because when I competed, it would have been like early 2000s. So really long time ago. Right. And so what happened, my first fight, I get into this fight, I'm piecing everybody up with the striking. Striking's not a problem because that's my bread and butter.
What do you do? Yeah.
Right. And then, so my first opponent then goes to try and take me down. I essentially get him like in like a side headlock, and I sort of do almost like a haragoshi, so or a kusora, not kusora, koshiguruma, right?
Okay.
Hip throw over the top, right? And we take it to the mat, and I'm almost in like kesagatami, so like judo side control.
Yeah.
And so I just, you know, I was a strong guy, squeeze, got the tap, right? And so that was my first fight. Adrenaline dumped, forearms pumped, everything pumping. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, no worries, because pancration, you're going to fight, you know, 3-4 times that day, right? So,
it's like,
right? And so then and my brother was actually, he came to support me at that fight. And I even had to drive all the way down to Wollongong, past Wollongong, somewhere, Windang, basically, at the PCYC there was where it was. And anyway, so now I'm rubbing out my arms, getting ready for the next fight. And then so, you know, the next fight starts, the striking's fine, right? And then, so then my opponent at the time then realized, okay, I'm not going to beat this guy striking, takes it to the mat. I get controlled on the mat for the remainder of the round, I lose that fight. Because I won the first fight, in my mind, I made all the excuses.
Yeah.
You know, it became, okay, you know, look, I can win. I don't need to focus and learn all this other shit. I can win like that anyway, right? Like it was just bad luck that I got dominated, like, you know, I was stuck in bottom position and I couldn't get out because I didn't have the techniques.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a striker. And so then I thought, and that's why I say that I think that really set my progress back, because the whole time after that, I kept thinking that, you know, I can still win. You know, I just without investing the time in those other disciplines. Yeah. Right. And so then I did more pancration comps. I did more combat grappling comps, and you know, it wasn't favorable, right? Because unless I would clip somebody with the striking and finish the fight with the striking, I was gonna get controlled on the ground for 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it was back then.
And it's frustrating.
Yeah. Right. And I would just make the excuses for it.
Yeah.
So it was only more until probably about 8 years ago when I was working down in Wollongong, that, you know, I needed to find another place to train, because I like to train in the mornings and avoid the traffic. And then I found an MMA gym down there, and Russ, great coach down there, I spent a bit of time, like that's a striking gym as well, but he actually, spent some time to work with me on my ground game. And then I started to get better at it. And then one of my other mates, Dexter, who trains at VT1, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, he's a brown belt now. But at the time, he was really getting into jiu-jitsu, and we used to just roll and I'd muck around with him, all right? And so then Dex was like, oh, he's going to compete at one of the grappling industries. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go and jump in too, right? So again, zero grappling experience, go and jump into a grappling industries with him. At the time, I think he was already, more than 3 years. So I think, no-gi, more than 3 years is advanced division. And I thought, I'll just do it with you because I can keep my pace with him.
Yeah.
And the first comp I actually ended up medaling. I got a medal. Wasn't gold, wasn't silver. I think it was probably maybe bronze or silver in the first one or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, advanced no-gi. I can obviously.
I can do that?
Yeah. So I did more comps, right? And this is before I actually then really started getting into jiu-jitsu. And I did okay. Like I silvered in a couple of comps, got to compete against Jeremy, who's one of the coaches at Grappling Education. And it was like, but again, I think, that also, those when you have those positive experiences, it's not always positive, right? I think I would have learnt more if I actually just ate shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then that way you have to respect the sport.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, in hindsight, that's what I gathered from that, is that I really needed to respect the disciplines as they were. So then as a result of that, then, through other mates, I ended up, so where I train jiu-jitsu now is at Integrated Combat Center in Peakhurst, just here, with Dave. And like I was actually rolling with Dave for probably a couple of years, just doing open mats. And basically, we were just shooting out, trying to, like, iron sharpens iron, hard training, not training. It's sparring, right?
Yeah,
we're doing rounds. And then, Dave said to me, he goes, Johnny, you're putting in the time here. You might as well get the rank to go with it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, shit, Dave's right? Like, so then, that's what made me formally get into jiu-jitsu.
That's cool.
But, like that's, I guess I would say, I just like to have fun. That's why I'll throw those things.
That's the right way you should face the sport.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about MMA because that's my main things, but like you need really to understand like all the time you put in. It's actually you can do that without find the positivity and the happiness. Like you can do this sport with the negative. It's already hard.
Yeah.
If you're negative, like you're gone. Like
you're gone. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So this guy was throwing him an RA roll. I was like, he's not doing podcasts. He's a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah, no, I was having fun. I was having too much fun, right? And look, the room was really good. We had some really high-level guys. But, high level or not, I'm going to throw that shit.
That's it. If you don't try, you never know.
All right, let's end it on that.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
See you.